Hello lacrosse fans and welcome to the Oshawa Civic Center from Oshawa, Ontario. My name is Nasser Ahmed and I am lucky enough to be joined here by Denise Westcott, a member of the International Competition Committee for the FIL. Now Denise, we're here live for the opening ceremonies of the 2013 FIL World Cup. It's sure to be a very exciting time.
I think we're very excited. It's the biggest World Cup that we've ever had in women's lacrosse. So,
yeah, we definitely are in store for a great week of lacrosse. Now, we're going to have a couple different speakers here. All the countries are going to walk out. What are you looking forward to seeing these teams and their fresh faces?
What am I looking forward to? Just starting the event. They've been working for the last couple years putting these teams together. So I think the most important thing to them is really kind of getting through this and starting to play. Everyone has practiced for months, and now they just want to compete against someone else.
Now everyone's going to be, having their smiles on, talking their talks today. Everyone's going to be friends right now. But when the competition actually starts tomorrow, these people are going to be brutal enemies. Now, we have the favorites, the heavy favorites, the teams like the United States, Australia, but there are a lot of teams making their first ever appearances in the 2013 FIL World Cup. Teams like Sweden, like Finland, Hong Kong, Latvia, and Israel. What do you expect for those teams making their first ever appearance?
I think that some of them have had the opportunity to play in the European Cup, so they've had some international competition under their belt, but I think we're just going to see a lot of new faces, and I think we're not sure what to expect.
It's definitely going to be an uphill battle. And speaking of uphill battles, England is going to have a little bit of chip on their shoulders this year, as the last World Cup is the first time they actually failed to medal. What do they need to do to get back on that podium?
I think more than anything, they need to be a little bit more proficient with the ball. They need to be able to score. They need to be able to take good shots.
Now, a lot of people make the comparison between international women's lacrosse and international women's hockey. Both are relatively younger sports, and for a long time in women's hockey, it was sort of the United States and Canada dominating for the entirety of the sport. And it's sort of been like that with international women's lacrosse as well. Now, what do you think some of the lesser-known nations need to do to make those improvements, to make strides, to make it more of a balanced game?
More of a challenge. I think a lot of the countries already have started to do that, like Japan. The Haudenosaunee have really come in strong because they just never played in a World Cup before. Some of the teams that are around the German area, like Finland, Holland, Denmark, those countries have picked up. A lot of it is really just kind of improving your numbers so that your pool of athletes to pick are a little bit stronger athletically. Speed is 9/10 of the law in most sports. So, I think just kind of having a stronger pool of players, being able to compete a little bit in between some of the World Cups, when we've now tried to put the European Cup, the America Cup is between Canada and the U.S. The ASPACs are playing now with New Zealand and Australia and Hong Kong, Thailand, China, Japan. They're starting to compete in between World Cups. So I think some of it is competing against other countries in between tournaments. And also just really trying to grow the growth of the sport, because once you have more numbers to pick from, you're going to find better athletes.
Speaking of the growth of the sport, Denise, you've actually yourself coached a number of teams and contributed to a number of international programs. Could you tell us a little bit about your own experiences helping with teams like the United States and Germany?
Well, I coach in a college in the States and had the opportunity to kind of work with a U.S. program developmentally as a selector, and then work with the goalkeepers with a developmental squad. And then there was a woman named Jackie Pitts who actually was one of the founders of the FIL, which is our first original governing body for women's lacrosse. Happened to live in the state of Delaware. She grabbed me to go over to Japan one summer. The Germans contacted her and said they wanted to get started, so I went over and worked with Germany, and in the process had an opportunity to see England, Scotland, and Wales, work with them a little bit, and the Czechs. And then the U.S. really and the international bodies wanted to merge and create a developing committee from both the men's and women's group.
It really is nice to see a culture be so honored here with a sport that they really did help create.
Exactly. They call it the creator's game, and for them it was a competition of good health, good fertility, and good crops.
Yeah, and Denise, you mentioned it before, a lot of these these athletes for this team actually growing up playing this game.
I know that when the males are born, they still have hand-carved lacrosse sticks put into their cradles. You know, so it is their culture. It's as much their culture as it is a game for them to play. Now this is the second World Cup for the Haudenosaunee.
A lot of beautiful faces coming out, but don't be fooled. They play a very physical style, and that's a testament to the Aboriginal style of lacrosse. Very physical, very tough, can outwork their opponents.
Yep, John Sung is in the back. He's their coach. Claudia Jemerson actually is the mom. We have a mom-daughter team. All right, Claudia Jemerson and Allie Jemerson, her daughter, are playing on the team, which is you don't see many daughter-mother combos.
That's a very interesting combination on one team. I wonder what happens when somebody messes something up. Just goes to show you how rich a tradition it really is in their culture to play this sport.
Now, Amber Hill, their goalie, actually played at Syracuse. So a lot of the countries have some of their players playing in the colleges in the States.
And as we know, the college level is really, for a lot of these athletes, the farthest they can really take this sport.
I think it's the most intense kind of practice you can have. They practice every day. Some of the clubs in some of the different countries only practice once or twice a week. So that intensity of our college level play in the States has created a lot of great players all around the world.
And now we see some of the other nations now coming out in alphabetical order.
Yep, here comes Australia. Jen Adams is in the front. She's one of their most prolific scorers. She actually hurt her knee recently. And next to her actually is Sue McSullivan. She's actually the goalie for Australia. This is her 6th World Cup.
Wow, yeah,
and I think there have only been 2 or 3 ever to play in as many World Cups as Sue has played in.
Longevity goes a long way. Definitely going to be one of the heavy favorites here in this tournament. Behind them, we have Austria coming in.
Now, Austria, this is their 2nd trip to the World Cup. Michael Perez is the coach. He's in the back. Some of their stronger players, Claudia Mikula, Kay Bierbacher, Nyla Meyer, Marina Resch.
And you have to love those traditional outfits. Those are wonderful.
And some of those women help bring the sport of lacrosse to Austria.
Another heavy favorite coming in now, England.
Sarah Butt in the back is her coach, along with Jan Gilbride, who was the former England coach. They also played in World Cups.
We have a lot of fan support here for Team Finland, actually. They're making a lot of noise behind us.
Now, England has a lot of veteran players. Katie Bennett, Lucy Lynch, Laura Mayfield, all played in many World Cups. They've at least played in 2 or 3 World Cups.
One of the countries that you helped bring lacrosse to, or at least advance it a little bit, Germany coming in now on the field as well.
Yeah, well, you got Sweden in front of them. Germany started in '96, so I'm excited to see what they can bring to us right now. Zabina Paul, one of the girls in the front, was in the original World Cup in 2001. She's still playing in goal. Damien, this is his 2nd World Cup as the coach.
Hong Kong, one of the leaders in the Asian countries, beginning to play lacrosse, coming out as well.
Yeah, Narika Urayama, the head coach. Joyce Tai, Carrie Hui, Kyuko Muramatsu, they're the captains.
Behind them, Team Ireland, donning the green, white, and
Ireland
orange.
was an upset the last World Cup, with them coming in with a lot of foreign players playing for Ireland. They knocked off Wales to move up in the world, so we'll see what countries do against them this time.
They could be an interesting team to watch over the upcoming week, and behind them another interesting team, Team Israel.
Yeah, in Israel, this is their 1st World Cup, which is exciting to see. You know, we have 5 new countries here, which is wonderful. Lauren Paul Norris is the coach in the back. Some of their stronger players and their captains, Kim Dabowski, Katie Mazer. Steph Tenenbaum brought the sport over to Israel. It really did a lot to help them. Lauren Dykstra, one of their stronger players.
And behind them, Team Japan now making their way onto the field.
Yoshi Nagakawa, oh boy, I just butchered that name, the head coach. Kaika Wada, Sari Haida, and Rei Mito. I know they've all played in 2 or 3 World Cups already, so it'll be interesting to see what they do.
And behind them, another Asian country. It is South Korea coming out.
Can it be interesting to see what they do? This is their 2nd World Cup, and you know, they were one of the only newcomers last time, so they really struggled a little bit in their games, but they learned so much over the last.
It's Team Latvia for the first time ever in an FIL World Cup.
Yeah, Gretchen Lasada actually is the coach. Her sister Rachel is playing on the team, and Eva Vika, I think she also helped bring a sport to Latvia. Then we go the Netherlands, always in orange, always very loud, very prominent team, just socially.
Some great length on that team as well. They do have a distinct height advantage in comparison to a lot of the other teams here.
Yeah, Kate Akrasina is the coach, Micah Dunbacher, Thea Rodenberg, Kusi Hammink, the captains for the Netherlands. And we've got New Zealand coming in. New Zealand, Curry Jones actually is the coach, played for Wales a while ago. So it's great to see that some of our other countries are reaching out to help countries to improve and to grow.
And our other first-time Scandinavian nation, Sweden, is coming out.
Yeah, I've got Kylan Bivodi is the coach, Tekla Jackson, Ebba Ovren, and Natalie Arenden. I think we're going to see a lot from them this week as players.
And a lot of people as heavy favorites to win this tournament, Team United States, a team you helped coach, actually.
Yeah, a while ago I worked with them developmentally and worked as a selector for the teams. Ricky Freed coaches at Georgetown. He's the head coach coming in. We have also a multitude of players that have been in multiple World Cups. Regina Oliver, Katrina Dowd coming from Northwestern. They won 3-4 championships in a row, college championships. We'll like to see what her stick is. She's really brought something different to the field. Her stick is just tremendous.
And that reaction by the fans signifies that our home team, Team Canada, is making their way onto the field now. These fans are very excited to see what their host nation can do here with home field.
Alexis Vincianas is the head coach. Dana Adobe, one of the best draw people in the world. I think Canada really had an opportunity to beat England in the last World Cup because she does so well getting the draw for the team. It's kind of like a jump ball in basketball for people that are watching that don't know lacrosse. She just is one of the most proficient draw controllers in the world.
Now you have a very close relationship with the starting goaltender of Team Canada. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Katie Donahoe actually plays for Monmouth for me. She just finished her sophomore season, helped us win 2 conference championships, and it's just great to see her here to represent us and represent Canada.
Now we throw our attention onto the field.
this is, the culture that created lacrosse for everyone.
Goes to show you how important this sport really is to their culture, how intertwined it really is in their everyday lives.
It's threaded all the way through their culture, and it's a lifestyle. It's not just a game; it's part of their history.
Behind the parade of dancers, the rest of the nations are beginning to file onto the field.
Just a lot of eye candy right now with the colors of their costumes and their moves. It's beautiful.
It's tough to imagine this field full of women walking on very peacefully, walking in arms, will in less than 24 hours be at each other's throats.
In the original game, the ball was just put between where the two tribes lived, and they would work the ball back to where their tribe was and had to hit the pole with the ball. So it was very physical and brutal, and sometimes the games lasted for months. I think one of the original games that they have in a diary in the Smithsonian, the game was between Montana and Utah, and it took about a year and a half to play.
The game certainly has evolved since then.
In the women's game, for a long time, we played with no boundaries because the native game was played with no boundaries. We would play to where the track started or where the benches were, where there was a tree behind the field. And as the game progressed, we added sidelines and end lines. But we certainly have tried to keep a lot of the traditions, like the draw in the game. The original ball was made out of deer skin and feathers, and so it was kind of the tribe that brought the ball back. They just felt that they would have a good year of crops, good year of fertility, happiness. It was considered a good luck thing.
Lots of history on hand here, the Oshawa Civic Center.
I'm sure every country is just in awe of what they're watching from the Haudenosaunee and the native country.
Especially the teams like the Hong Kongs and like the Swedens and the Finlands making their very first appearances at these sort of events.
I know even the Europeans, they, on their websites, they have a lot of things of how the history of the sport started, how it was created, and I think for them to see it firsthand now, it's just exciting to them.
Some of the other countries getting in on the act as well, paying homage to the native.
I know
team.
Israel was singing when they were behind us walking in. They're definitely very colorful, trying to make the first impression a great one.
Now these women have been training for months and months, but at the end of the day, the goal is always to have a fun time here.
Well, most of these teams really started about 2 years ago, right after the U19 World Cup. We have two levels of World Cup. This is our senior World Cup, and we have a U19 World Cup 2 years in between our event. So once usually the U19s are over, they really focus the next 2 years on creating their senior team coming to the next World Cup. So some of these players have really worked the last 2 years to make this team and to be able to play here today.
Possibly a transition period for a lot of the players here, making the jump to the older level of competition.
We do often see a lot of the U19 team players really moving up and playing in some of these tournaments. So it's great to see that development is helping some of their players continue to play. And they've played for 8 or 10 years. They're a lot stronger as a player. Their sticks are usually a little cleaner, a little bit more skilled, and their knowledge is stronger because now they've been playing the sport a little bit longer. So their game sense is a little bit sharper.
You can't put a price tag on repetitions, just getting the actual experience of playing in these kind of tournaments and in these big games against really the best competition in the world.
I think that's one of the things that a lot of the countries, especially that are new, to be able to play against stronger competition, to feel what it really is like to play, to see what the next level looks like, to watch the U.S. and Australia and Canada and England go after each other, to be able to say, boy, this is where we want to try to head.
Yeah, the game tends to speed up just a little bit when you get to this level of competition. We'll see which teams are able to keep up.
the U.S. always feels that pressure of everyone trying to chase them down and go after them. So every game's a big game. But in the brackets that we've set up in our pool play, I think there's going to be a lot of very close games, a lot of close scores. We may even be able to get into some overtime games, which is exciting to watch.
Yeah, because a lot of teams will definitely, a lot of experts will be picking a team like the United States. But just like you said, when you have that target on your back, when you are the king of the hill, and everyone is gunning for your spot, everybody tends to play a little bit harder, a little bit faster against your team, and you definitely get everyone's A game.
And just like the Olympics, because this is a 10-day event, sometimes you have injuries, sometimes, you might be strong one day and the next day struggle a little. So the longevity of how many games they play in a 10-day period is also the other struggle that you face, because you have to we only are allowed to dress 18 players and 12 start the game. So you only have 6 subs. And you're going to have to use your bench to get through 10 days of competition. And so, besides having star players, you have to have depth on your bench to be able to get through a tournament like this and do well.
As our fans will see throughout the week, this tournament definitely is a marathon, not a sprint.
Now, our umpires are coming across in front of us. The umpires come from 8 or 10 different countries. We've done a lot to develop some of our officials along with the players, and taking player clinics, coaches clinics, and umpiring clinics into the different countries to hope. Because if you don't have umpires, you're not going to be able to play a game.
Of course.
Somebody has to ref the game. Somebody's got to be able to coach it, and you need players. So we've tried to work on bringing all 3 to new countries to try to develop them so that they can actually have competition against themselves, and as they get stronger, be able to play against other countries.
They might be the most disliked people in the arena, but they are some of the most important, and those are the officials, ladies and gentlemen.
That is so true.
Just a beautiful sight to see all these different nations, all these teams gathered on the same field here in Oshawa.
I know when they were walking in, we kind of missed Scotland. Martha Cornbrooks coaching Scotland. Julia Patterson, this is her 4th World Cup. Kate Thompson, Chloe Hunt, Emily Knight, they've all played in many tournaments, many World Cups already. I think they wanted the players to mingle and be around each other, just like the Olympics, to have that kind of feeling and flavor of just celebrating participation.
As much as all of these individuals will want to play for their country, there really is a fraternity amongst international field lacrosse players.
Juena Missionong, as you go still young, as you bed young, Kidumo Shinongo Ewena, just to get young some. Jimmy Gwetchkin go be sure what Gwetchkin not what, or going to what you get what. Me Gwetch go be sure eggs some more, McKinnock minutes. To be Gwetchkin not the egg. We me Gwetch me arm in the door. So, no way more quaywak. Go be sure what more to get what. Can know where when a stiga yok. Monobop yok, no go giga to yok. Jimmy Gwetch give yak, whopping on a care or what. Make it say. Jaunong, war wash cash. Ever get come on a care. Which could them check. I'm quite a sit with the give it nung and a matter bit. Mo get me skakka mikwe. Jimmy Gwetch could go kina. So go be sure yegmo. Jimmy Gwetch could then them. Oh, we wet.
Wow, what a great day. And to be here in Oshawa and in part of the traditional territory, the Mississaugas of Hiawatha and sister communities in the area. As within our tradition, I'd like to acknowledge the drum, the dancers, the elder, and all our friends and family from Hiawatha and surrounding communities. As well as Mayor Henry, we do have a couple council members in the audience as well, if we could acknowledge them. Kirk Edwards and Dwayne Cowie, if they could just wave their hand there. Thanks. and also the other dignitaries from around Ontario, Oshawa here. We thank them for being here and letting us be part of this. Also, I'd like to thank the craft people that, as later on in the tournament you'll see, designed and crafted the homemade awards and gifts to each of the teams. And as well, as Mayor Henry said, to the two girls and their whole committee that put this organization or this whole tournament together, Cheryl and Stephanie, thank you from us at Hiawatha and for letting us be part of it.
Lake, Elder Merritt Taylor, now Oshawa Mayor John Henry.
Good afternoon, and welcome to one of the most amazing cities in all of Canada. To our drummers, thank you. To our dancers, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce some friends of mine in the stands. They're councillors from the city of Oshawa. If they could just give a wave, we have Councillor Bob Chapman, Councillor Nestor Pitterbecky, Councillor Roger Bauma, and Jag Sharma, who is our Commissioner of Corporate Services, who's responsible for this park. Plus all our staff that is here today, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, it just takes a whole community to create an event like this.
Yeah, the
I
crowd
had a
honoring
chance
some of the delegates responsible
about a year and a
for
half
this
ago
tournament.
to meet two amazing young ladies. And they're standing behind me right now, and that's Cheryl McNeil and Steph Green, who had this vision about bringing the world together to play women's field lacrosse in the city of Oshawa, and they need a round of applause.
Now, Cheryl actually was a World Cup player for Canada as a defender, hurt her knee, came back and actually played in goal
To the
for
players,
Canada.
a game of lacrosse, but it's important to remember you're here to have a new experience and meet new friends from around the world and celebrate that. I'm incredibly proud to be mayor of the city of Oshawa, and I welcome you all here today. Have a great, great game. Enjoy, have fun, and enjoy Oshawa while you're here.
As everybody knows, it takes hundreds of people to put an event of this sort on. So I'd like to thank all the Phil delegates who are here, committee chairs, and a special thanks to my two board members. They work every day trying to develop lacrosse around the world. Thank you. Very lucky to have you as board members and friends. Thank you for that. Finally, a final welcome and thank you to all of the people that we're going to see on the field this year. First of all, our game officials. Thank you for your years and years of work in learning our rules. You've really become the caretakers of the international rules, the managers of our game on the field. Welcome and thank you for that. And finally, the players. You should all be very, very proud of yourselves. I know we're very proud. I see, thousands of people in the stands here. I know you got a lot of family and friends who are proud of you. You've worked hard to get here. Take your time on this week. I know as the mayor said, really take time to get to know other people. I love Japan's motto. Their motto is lacrosse makes friends. And I just think that is one of the nicest things about our sport. We know you're here and we're here to crown a world champion, but the memories you take back, the friends you meet, they will last a lifetime, and I really encourage you, to get to meet. Thank you very much, and best of luck this week.
Thank you, Stan. 2 years is only a drop in the bucket, but they put in every day of those last 2 years. And so one of the tournament co-directors, Cheryl McNeil.
Thanks, Pat. It has been a long time. This is my second kick at the cat, if we can say. 6 years ago, I was very fortunate to welcome a phenomenal group of athletes to Peterborough, Ontario. 11 teams. And I made the challenge at that time. I said, we need to take this game out to the world, and we need to make it grow. And I stand here today looking at 19 teams. So I think we're starting to do our job. 6 years from now when I'm sitting in the stands and cheering on that next group, I want to see those numbers double again. So let's go for 38 next time. Steph and I are very fortunate to take the accolades for all the work, but there is an incredible committee that has been behind us. First and foremost, I need to make sure that I thank Steph for coming on board for a number of reasons, but without her, this event would not have happened. So I thank you very much. Once the company was formed, the next thing we needed was a place to play. Well, we have got a phenomenal place to play. We've got 2 beautiful outdoor fields, and in the event, which, as I said earlier today, it's going to happen, rain, we have an amazing indoor facility. So we have you covered as far as fields go, so thank you to the City of Oshawa for that. Next was a group of people that we need to thank: the Federation of International Lacrosse, the Canadian Lacrosse Association, and for the Ontario Lacrosse Association for giving us their blessings to host this event. So thank you very much for believing in us and knowing that we could put this together. Thank you very much. Thank you to the coaches, the managers, the trainers, all the hours that you put in to make sure that your teams are prepared. Thank you very much for your passion to the game. A huge thank you to my favorite team, the team in stripes, the team I won't be a part of this week, but I will be cheering you on. To the umpires, thank you for making the game safe, fair, and fun. Thank you. And last but not least, certainly the reason that we are all here. Thank you to the players. Your passion drives us, and we hope that we meet the challenge this week. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's my privilege and my pleasure to officially open the 2013 Phil Women's World Cup. Good luck.
And that brings us to an end of the opening ceremonies. Of course, the big part starts tomorrow with the games. The Hiawatha First Nations are going to lead us out, all the teams out, so circle around once, and then you're off to the races.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the official kickoff to the 2013 FIL World Lacrosse Championships held here at the Oshawa Civic Center in Oshawa, Ontario. Master Hammond here with Denise Westcott. And Denise, really a great vibe, a great way to really get things started here in Oshawa.
You know, just to be a part of the culture that started the sport of lacrosse, that it was born, raised, grown here, and now taken across the world. It's just great to celebrate that.
It definitely is, and as the action was set to kick off really in less than 24 hours, you're now tuned into the official pre-show of the 2013 FIL World Cup. Now, let's kick it off from the top. Let's go alphabetical here. Let's take a look at Austria. What can we expect in this tournament out of a team like Austria, who not many people are really considering are going to make too much noise?
I think they've been around for a while in Europe. This isn't their first World Cup, so we'll see what they can do. They have a couple of returning players, I think, that are strong. Claudia Mikula, Kayla Baraka, Nyla Meyer, Marina Resch started the sport there. They've been playing now 6-7 years, so we should start to see more from their country.
Now over to a team that a lot of people think will make a lot of noise at this tournament is Australia, a team with a rich history of international lacrosse. What can we expect out of the Australians here?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of consistency from them because a lot of their players are returning. I think they've been hungry since the last World Cup. They lost by 1 to the U.S. So I think they're very hungry. They want to see if they can bring it, the gold back to their country again. Sonia Lamonica, Courtney Hobbs, Stacey Morlang, Hannah Nielsen, who just graduated from Northwestern a couple years ago, that brought national championship, college championship back. They're just incredibly strong players, so I think their offense is going to be solid. I know they just had an injury with Jen Adams, which is a blow to them. But they also, I think, have one of the strongest goalies in the world. Sue McSalvin this is her 6th World Cup, and she's always been one of the best in the cage.
Australia will definitely be a threat, but now moving on to another team that a lot of the fans here hope will be a threat, and that is their host nation, Team Canada. We all want our boys, our girls in the red and white to do really well. What do you expect for our girls?
I think more than anything, Dana Adobe is one of the best drawlers in the world. For them to get possession of the ball is going to be a key for them. Offensively, Christy Foote's coming back. This is, I think, her 3rd or 4th World Cup. Brooke Eubanks, they both played in the States. Christy played at Notre Dame. Brooke played at JMU. They've been around the game a long time, so I think they have a lot of knowledge. I think if they can play well together, get possession of the ball, they're going to do well. They have a couple newbies in the cage. Katie Donahoe. I think she's probably going to be a name that people are going to remember from this tournament. She's just really exceptionally athletic outside the crease, and she has great hands.
It'll be interesting to see how home field advantage plays in for the Canucks. Now moving on to the team that Canada actually upset the last time we held one of these events. That's Team England, a team that's looking for a shot at redemption here in Oshawa. Yeah,
England has always at least medaled in every World Cup except for the last one when they lost to Canada in the third and fourth place. So it's the first time they walked away without a medal. I think they're looking to bounce back and try to medal again, possibly go after Australia. I know I kind of overheard them talking about that. And again, they too have a lot of wealth of knowledge in their game. They have multiple returning players. Katie Bennett on their offense, Lucy Lynch, who played in the States, and Laura Mayfield. I think this is her 3rd or 4th World Cup. So I think the knowledge that they have and how they play as a team is going to factor into this.
Yeah, definitely one of the favorites again in this tournament. Now, one of the teams making their first ever appearance here. There are 5, of course, teams making their first ever World Cup. One of them is Finland. How will the Scandinavian team do, in your opinion?
Well, Finland started about 5 or 6 years ago. So, I know they played in the European Cup and did pretty well. I think at least being able to play against some of the other countries in between tournaments has helped them improve a little bit faster, so we'll see what they can do. They've Jenna Kapanen is their coach. I think she's a lot of knowledge. I know they were working on some offenses the other day, so I think if they can bring in some of the experience that they've had the last few years, it should help them be a little bit more successful in this World Cup.
Now let's move on to a team that you actually helped develop a little bit. That's Team Germany. What do you expect out of the Germans? They've been at it a little bit longer than some of the other countries here.
Well, I know that Germany, I think they lost to Wales in the European Cup last summer. So, and it was a close game, first time they really had a chance to move up in the world. The Czechs aren't here, and I think recently they've competed against the Czechs and beaten them more often, which, is a feat of them moving up at least one spot internationally. So I think they're looking forward to trying to attack Wales and some of the other European countries that they compete against. And again, they also have, Sabina Paul was in the first World Cup in 2001, played in 2005, missed 2009, so seeing her back in the cage. I also think Damien has really brought in a couple of years of consistent coaching. He was at the last World Cup, so I think they're used to a system that may help them be more successful.
Yeah, Germany definitely could be an underdog here at this tournament. Now, another dark horse potentially is the All First Nations team on hand. They play a very unique style, very different from a lot of other nations. What do you see out of them?
Their stick skills are just so creative that you're not going to know what you're going to see from their sticks until they get on the field. But I think that's one of the things that they handle the ball so well because they pretty much grow up with the ball in their stick. I think the way that they handle the ball definitely will help them be successful. I think they're more athletic than they've been. They definitely have a little bit more depth in their lineup, which should help them. And I think they're trying to see if they can try to medal and and do something here in their own, in their own country.
Yes, very similar to Team Canada. They will be playing in front of their home fans as well. Another team that doesn't have that luxury, and actually it's going to be a little intimidating being their first ever tournament, is Team Hong Kong. Now, they're one of the Asian countries that have only very recently began to expand their national program. What do you see out of a team like Hong Kong?
They actually are pretty successful in the aspects. I think they've been around the sport now. Japan's been working with them for a while, and I think they're going to walk in just a little bit more knowledgeable than we think. I think they're going to surprise people because I think they've been around a little bit longer than we know. We haven't seen them in a World Cup yet, so to me, I think this is going to be one of the surprise teams.
They definitely could surprise a lot of people, but they will need a lot of luck. One team that we know is very lucky, well, that's the luck of the Irish. That's Team Ireland. What do you think the Irish have in store for the fans here in Oshawa over the next 10 days?
Well, I think we're excited because I think the last time they brought the Irish team into the World Cup, there were a lot of American Irish that were playing on their team, and I think we're going to see a lot more of their native players from their own country playing. So just seeing what that brings to the field, I think is going to be a change.
And we talked about Hong Kong and how their developmental program has really gone a long way. And you mentioned a team that has really helped them develop, is Team Japan. What do you see out of Team Japan, and do you think they are the most developed out of the Asian countries?
They definitely are the most developed. I think their style of play is very aggressive, a little bit more like the men's style of play. They kind of push up the field to pressure the ball. It's a very fast style. They're very quick. They've always had speed. If their attackers can get to the cage quickly, they can do some damage.
Now, another team making their very first appearance here in 2013 at the FIL World Cup is Team Latvia. Do you think Latvia can really make any noise here?
I think it's going to be hard for them to succeed, extremely succeed and possibly win a game. But I think the European countries at least are good at developing quickly because they have the opportunity to play against each other a little bit easier because their countries are a little bit closer together. And I know that some of the other countries have worked to try to help improve them quickly. So, I think we're going to see a little bit more from them than we expect. But they're definitely going to have an uphill battle.
Yes, that is for sure. Now, moving on now, another team making their very first appearance is Team Israel. We've seen their smiling faces. They've been dancing on the field. They've been singing along with the natives. They definitely seem like they're going to have a lot of fun here. But do you see a lot of team success for Team Israel?
Well, I think they have a couple of players that have played in the States that are playing with them. The goalie is one of the goalies at Dartmouth. If she can keep the ball out of the cage a little bit more, they may have opportunity to win some games. I think the promoters that went into the country have really worked hard, especially in a couple of different towns, to help the sport grow quickly. So, we'll see what they've done. I think if they can use a couple of their American players to do some things for them, keep the ball out of the cage, they may have some success.
Now, a team like New Zealand really makes me very curious because, the country of New Zealand is known for having a very physical brand of sports in general. We've seen the All Blacks in rugby intimidate a lot of other teams. Do you see something similar for the women's team here for New Zealand?
I think they definitely take that pride of their country of being physical and aggressive and just fighting hard. I think in the last World Cups that we've seen that style of play from them. They never give up. They go after the ball hard. They're aggressive. They have some returning players. They have a couple kids that actually play in the States. Sarah Butler plays at Longwood. Steph Eaton, I think she plays in college in the States. So I think some of that really kind of helps them grow faster.
Now, we mentioned this a little earlier in the broadcast. A team like the Netherlands definitely has a size advantage over a lot of the other nations here, especially some of the Asian countries. Do you think the Netherlands can use that and utilize their height advantage and try to pull off a couple upsets here?
Absolutely. Besides, speed being in the sport, it's very physical, and if they can hold defensively in one-on-ones, use their size to keep people away from the cage. And lean in a little bit and drive a little bit harder to the cage too. Fight for the draw a little bit more using their size and height. Those things definitely will help them.
Now, let's take a look at a team like South Korea. Now, political ties aside, it can definitely change things and how sports are played on the world stage. We've seen it, when Berlin when Germany had their conflict in soccer. Do you think South Korea can make any noise in this tournament?
I think, this is their second tournament, and I think, it was a little bit of culture shock. They definitely were one of the only new teams last time. I think they're going to make an impact because they're playing with a lot of other developmental countries. And I think because they've had that step in of playing in a World Cup before, I think they're used to this level of play and the fact that they have to play 10 days hard. So I'm excited to see what they can do because this is not their first time.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be trying to break out of the shadow of a team like maybe Japan, one of the more advanced Asian countries, and another team living in a lot of other teams' shadows is Scotland, a European nation who's been playing lacrosse but don't necessarily get the recognition of a team like Wales or England. Do you think Scotland can pull off a few upsets here in Oshawa?
Well, they're typically one of the three best in Europe. They've again, the sport's been around in their country about 100 years in the women's game. I think Scotland and Wales were the first two teams that played internationally against each other, and they've worked hard to bring in new growth in the sport of lacrosse in Scotland. And I think, they're hosting the next World Cup, so they're trying to build off of that progression of just playing stronger in this World Cup, hosting it the next time. I think, again, they also have some returning players that are solid, and, we'll see what they can do.
We've been talking a lot about a lot of the teams that are kind of in the middle of the pack. A lot of the teams that we think, they can make noise, but they won't be there. Let's talk about two teams that very well could meet each other in the finals, and that's Team USA and Team Wales. You know a lot about these two teams. Tell us a little bit about what you expect from these two powerhouses.
Well, if USA and Wales play against each other, Wales has that tradition of the game being in their country for about 100 years. They've worked really hard on their sticks. They, right along with England, they're usually there in every game. Their games have been close, even though they've lost a couple in the last tournaments that have dropped them down a little bit. I'm excited a little bit more with Wales to see what they might be able to do against Japan. And that middle bracket to jump back up, possibly in the top 5 or 6 in the world.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to watch some of these powerhouses take the field against one another. Now, one of the teams can't quite call themselves a powerhouse just yet, but definitely making strides in the sport is Team Sweden. Again, one of the Scandinavian countries making their first ever appearances here. What do you see out of the Swedes?
Well, they've actually played in a couple of European Cups on and off. There just hasn't been consistency of their play to get to World Cups. That's why this is their first World Cup. But they've played in a couple European tournaments. They played in the European tournament last summer. So I think having that experience will also help them a little bit better as they head into this, for the first time.
So we've taken a little bit of a glance at some of these teams and some of their coaching staffs and really what kind of shapes the makeup of the teams. After taking a deeper look at all of that, how do you see this tournament really playing out, Denise?
Well, you're always going to look at the top 4 that have been there since 1982. You're going to look at U.S. and Australia to see what they do with each other. You're going to look at England and Canada and see if they can step into the top 2. I know that Canada would love to move up in the medal competition and possibly win. No country that has hosted has won a World Cup in their own country, so they could possibly be the first ones to do it. So I think I think Canada and England are trying to move up into those first 2 spots. So and have to face each other to see where they might wind up. When it comes to U.S. and Australia, they've been going at each other since 1982, and typically are in that final game. So we'll see what they can bring. I think both teams have a tremendous amount of talent. I think both teams bring in a lot of players that have had a lot of experience and have played in World Cups before, so they can handle that pressure. I think you're gonna look at 2 incredibly strong goalkeepers in Australia and the U.S. The U.S. goalie is very aggressive outside the crease, so it's a little bit different style. We'll see how the Aussies handle that, but I think it's going to be a close race with the top 4. And you always hope that 3rd and 4th could possibly slide up. bring some things that are new to the world.
Yeah, there definitely will be a lot of unpredictable finishes in this tournament, as we know. Is synonymous with the game of lacrosse, but one thing we do know that will happen is we are in store for some great lacrosse action over the next 10 to 11 days. Now, we just want to remind you that you will be able to catch every single game here live on Webcast Sports, brought to you by JVI Video Productions. And really, that's all the time we have for this pre-show for the 2013 FIL World Cup here in Oshawa. Denise, I want to thank you for joining us and providing your insight. You know a lot about the game of lacrosse, and you have a lot of firsthand experience, and it was great to have you on.
Well, thank you. We're excited that this tournament is now in 19 countries.
Yeah, it's definitely growing, and as one of our delegates said, hopefully we can get to 38 next year.
There you go.
So for Denise Westcott, I'm Nasser Ahmed, and we are signing off. Thank you very much for joining us. Stay tuned all week long.
Thank you.